5, 4, 3, 2.
Tier 1 performance.
Well, guys, welcome back to the In and Out Talks podcast, hosted by Tier 1 Performance. You got your hosts, Mitch and Jordan here. Today's special guest is an uncle of mine, Mike Matulia, played Division I college baseball at the Citadel, which is a military college in Charleston, South Carolina. And then afterwards, went on to be an athletic director and a head coach at the college baseball level and raised a couple pro athletes himself. So, Uncle Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thanks, Mitchell. Thank you, Jordan.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure having you on. I really appreciate you taking the time. And, first and foremost, just for our audience out there, a little bit about yourself, where you grew up and, kind of a little bit about your upbringing as far as baseball goes.
I wasn't in a military family, but if you look at the history that we had, we moved around a lot. My dad was in law enforcement, your grandfather, and we moved around quite a bit. So actually, I was just talking to a friend of mine that I went to high school with. My junior year, after my junior year, we moved. So I actually graduated from a different high school than I had been my whole life, my whole 4 years. So I moved from Maryland to North Carolina, and yeah, I guess it was meant to be because if I wouldn't have moved down there to North Carolina, I probably wouldn't have been recruited by the Citadel and some of the other schools, from the South. So I had wanted to go to the Naval Academy, and I did have an appointment there. But when I moved down, I was going to have to go through the what is it called? The priest, before you actually get in, the
prep school?
plebes. Yeah, they have a little prep school down there, in Annapolis, and the military academy. So, but anyway, moved to North Carolina, and I got a scholarship to go to the Citadel, and played there for 4 years. So that's where I went, and it was a good experience for me. And I actually started coaching my coaching career there at the Citadel.
That's awesome. And so you grew up in Maryland. Now, did you go to Linganore High School before?
No, that was your other uncle that you guys interviewed. I went to Seneca Valley High School, which was in Montgomery County. They're actually known for football. I was a football player early on, and they were known for football. In fact, it was a brand new school when I started. So they started with 8th, 9th, and 10th graders. And my freshman year, they actually won the first state championship early on. So it was, they became a football powerhouse, and I played my freshman year. My sophomore year, I was injured, and then I decided at the end of my sophomore year that I probably needed to concentrate on a non-contact sport.
What position were you on the gridiron?
Well, we ran the wishbone back then, and I was a quarterback. So as you know, in the wishbone, the quarterback gets hit probably every play. And then I enjoyed that. I played defense. I was a cornerback. We called them outside linebackers back in those days. And, I was 5'8", 175 pounds.
But you could lay the wood. That's all
Yeah.
Yeah.
I brought the lumber and I used it quite often.
Use it quite well.
No other point in that.
So you transitioned just into baseball, and I mean, how do you feel like those other sports helped impact you athletically for your baseball
No
career?
question about it. I wrestled. I even tried to play basketball. But yeah, I think, Now it's really tough. I think these kids, I'm finding out, just coaching in high school here, that they're not as good as athletes as the kids that I grew up with. We played everything. We did everything. If it was summertime, we were playing baseball. In the fall, we played football. If some kids played soccer, we played basketball or wrestled in the winter time. And then, guys either ran track. Some guys ran track and played baseball in the
Yeah.
spring.
Yeah, Jordan,
So,
I thought
a lot different now.
a lot different now. It's become more specialized. Me and Jordan talk about it all the time. It's like, yeah, I think guys throw harder now because they're just sick of pitching from a younger age. And of course, like, you know, uh, weight training has only increased, nutrition has only increased. But from a lateral movement standpoint, I think that, I mean, I used to see better athletes growing up than I see now as far as, overall athleticism.
Well, but now that people have caught on to that, and they said, all these guys that have been physical therapists are developing all these programs, and they're saying, hey, a lot of these guys want to play baseball. What do we got to do to get their core stronger? What do we got to do to make them better moving laterally? And a lot of these guys have caught on and have moved on and have developed some of these things. I mean, look at Paul Skeens. I mean, that guy's a freak.
Absolutely.
Um, he could play any sport, but he grew up in baseball, and he probably did some other things. But I'm saying, they have guys now that are specialists. The nutrition, the strength and conditioning, the plyometrics, all these different programs they have for kids. It's amazing. And I think that's, to me, this year I changed my whole philosophy about weight training and doing strength and conditioning stuff and speed and agility and all that. I changed everything. And I'm 65 years old, and I got these guys doing things that they haven't. I'll tell you this. Last year, I had two guys that ran below a 7.0 in the 60-yard dash.
Yeah.
This year, my varsity team, I've had 12 guys run sub sevens. 12 guys.
And that was just from the weight room alone.
Weights and strength and conditioning and a lot of running drills. And a lot of running drills, I just got on the computer and went on to some of these guys that Coach Jake or whoever it was, and it's they have a whole summer program of just running and agility. Becoming a better athlete doesn't mean it's just for a baseball player. It's just becoming come for all athletes.
Completely agree. And, Uncle Mike, I mean, how many college offers did you have coming out of high school?
I had verbally committed to Appalachian State. I actually went to visit North Carolina, but they had two catchers there. When I went to visit, both of them became major leaguers. But the guy, I was lucky I went to the Citadel because the next year when I was a freshman, North Carolina recruited a kid named BJ Surhoff. If you guys have ever heard of BJ Surhoff, he was a pretty good ball player, pretty good catcher, played in the major leagues for several years.
Gee, so three big league catchers in a row coming from UNC.
Yeah, they had some guys that were now not all of them played catcher. They converted. Even BJ Surhoff, I can remember him playing some infield stuff. But yeah, that was I was going to Appalachian pretty much because I lived right down the mountain when we lived in North Carolina. I lived right down the mountain in Hickory, North Carolina, and that was one of the places a lot of guys went play Division One baseball. They played in the Southern Conference. So I just decided that, when the Citadel came, I said, Jesus, I'm going to go further south. That's, not a bad gig. And I didn't really know a lot about the military thing. So I just said, well, what the heck? I'll go down there and give it a shot.
Yeah, for those who don't know, I mean, the Citadel being a military college, how was that transition going from like going to a military college and playing Division One baseball at the same time? What was that like?
It was tough. It was tough. You had, it's not, it's those guys that go to those military schools, VMI, Texas A&M. I don't know how many of those cadets at Texas A&M play baseball, but it's a tough gig. You have, you not only have to worry about your academics and the athletic side, but you got to worry about the military side too. There's a lot of guys, 75% of the guys that go to the Citadel, they're going into the military. They don't give a crap about the athletic side. They only care about the military side. So it was different. It was a tough transition my freshman year. I struggled academically. I was lucky to even be eligible, believe it or not. So, but I was able to get it going, and I graduated in 4 years,
How'd
and
you do
I
playing
was
wise?
able to. What's that?
How'd you do playing wise?
Uh, I was fine. I played every year. I started as a sophomore through my senior year. I was kind of a role player my freshman year. I DH'd a little bit. I caught some, but I played. I got a letter my freshman year. Um, there was a senior catcher in front of me, so I got a lot of playing time, especially during the weekend series. We had double headers and stuff. I played, pretty much. I was a 300 hitter every year I played. We had a club. My freshman year, I didn't have enough at bats, but the rest of my career, I was 300 plus hitter. My senior year, I think I hit like 360, something like that. Uh, and I was not a prospect at any time. I was 5'10" and weighed 175 pounds. But I played well enough when we played. I played in the regionals twice. Back then, the regionals were a little different than they are now. When you played in the regionals back then, the winner of the regional went to the World Series.
Because there's 8 teams in regionals back then, right? Or 12?
Well, no, we had you had some of the regionals were 6 team regionals and some of them were 4. But they narrowed it down. You had to win your conference to be in regionals back then.
Is
We
it
didn't. They
traditional?
didn't. They didn't have that. At large and all that business.
None of that. You had to win out no
No.
matter where you
Yeah,
were.
that's exactly right.
Now, as someone that batted like, in the 360s or 300s for majority of his college career, how was the level of competition, especially when you went to the regional? Like, was it, I mean, you did pretty like you were pretty consistent throughout your college career, so was it super easy or you didn't think it was necessarily challenging or did you think
It was. It's
you thought
it's not playing baseball is not easy anytime. Um, Back then, that we got, now you got guys throwing 100. Well, back then, 90 was the kind of the measuring stick back in the early 80s. You got guys throwing 90, 92, 93. That was kind of the 100s of today. We had 2 guys when I was at the Citadel. We had 2 guys on our staff that threw in the 90s. One of them went to the big leagues, Jeff Barkley. The other one was Mike Cherry. He would have been a big leaguer, but he got hurt in the minor leagues. And there were guys I faced from, South Carolina, North Carolina, NC State. Whoever we played Clemson. Uh, you were always, I faced Jimmy Key as a freshman. Jimmy Key played in the big leagues. He was a big left-handed pitcher from Clemson. And I faced him in, my freshman year. Um, But it's the same as it was today. I wasn't a power hit or anything like that. I hit in the middle of the lineup, and if you ever looked up the history of the Citadel, we we were not power hitters. We didn't have a lot of power. We played. You guys won't remember this, but one of the movies, the Major League movies that they showed, was at the field that I played on in Charleston, South Carolina. Our left field line was 360.
Jeez.
Center field wall was 420.
wow, big Nice.
Right field wall was about 300, but it was a 30-foot wall or 20-foot wall.
Monster.
And our affiliate was the Kansas City Royals. So I don't know. I think back then their stadium was kind of configured that way or something like that. That's why they had a minor league team there. But yeah, it was 360 down the line. So there's not a whole lot of 175-pound catchers hitting bombs, out of 360. I had a few there, but not enough to be considered a power hitter.
So you played all your home games at that minor league stadium? Um,
It was our stadium, it's our property, but the Kansas City Royals actually used it for their single A team in the summertime. That was their field.
because I went on a visit to the Citadel, and I remember seeing the barracks that were on campus. And they're like, yeah, you sleep in these bunk beds, and you wake up, and you march in the morning, you go to class, and then you have to walk like a mile to the practice field
But
from
we
the
didn't. You
camp.
didn't. You didn't walk a mile.
You
There
didn't
was no
walk,
walking. You
there's running.
ran. You ran to. You ran to and from, and we had a key to get out the gate. Somebody had the first guy out got a key, unlocked the gate, and then you ran to the field. Somebody was in charge of the key coming back because the last man had to lock the gate.
That's crazy.
You ran with your catcher's bag, all the equipment, everything, and
No,
you
we,
just
no, I was smarter than that.
You put it
I
there.
left my equipment down there at the field,
Yeah,
and they locked it up down there in a place, and I was smart enough to leave it there. I wasn't carrying that stuff all the way down there.
good.
do you have people that did do that?
No, we had this big van, a car, like a cargo van was open, and those airport, shuttles things, with the open in the back, and we just threw all our gear in there, and they carry it down for us, the managers.
What was the bat of choice back then? Did you have the Eastons, like the silver and green ones?
Not well. We used the Green Easton, but the when I got there, it was the Tennessee Thumper.
Or those were
Sounds like a
juice.
war
You
relic.
you guys would have to look that up. It was like hitting with an aluminum fungo bat. It was
What?
ridiculous.
Did the ball fly off of it, or was it dead?
No, if you didn't hit it, I think the hitting space was about 4 inches. The sweet spot was about 4 inches. If you missed, your hands would be shaking for about 10 minutes afterwards.
You get annihilated.
The shock.
Yeah.
So once the Tennessee Thumper was out, I think my sophomore year we got the Green Eastons, and then I think my junior year we had the black and gold Easton. I can't remember what they called it, but it was a bigger head, and everybody got it. But yeah, it was the Easton bats. We didn't have Louisville Sluggers till, I mean, the wooden bats, but I can't remember when they introduced those.
The aluminum,
No, I used the Green Easton.
the green
It
Easton,
was
green
it
twist,
was silver with the green colors.
Yeah. Yeah.
vintage. And
Vintage.
so, did you make a regional your senior year,
Senior year, junior year, and my senior year, both years.
junior and senior year? And then upon graduation, is that when you decided to go back as a grad assistant coach?
It was before that. I was deciding when I did my student teaching, I actually was going to think about going into football because when I was doing my student teaching, I taught at one of the local schools, and a lot of the football coaches' families went there, and I had their kids in my classes, and the kids would go home, and they say, "Oh, Coach Matulia, he's such a great guy." So all these football coaches were saying, "Well, you're going to go to graduate school. Why don't you go, come and help us in football? And you have a little bit of a football background." And I said, "No, I'm going to do baseball." So that's what I did. So I was a graduate assistant. In baseball. I knew I was going into coaching. I knew I wasn't going to be a pro player. I mean, I went to tryouts and all those kind of things, but I knew my money was going to be in coaching.
How long have you been coaching for?
You don't really want to know that, I don't think. Let's, so if you think about it, I started in 1984. Okay.
Four years.
when were you guys born?
96. Good
All right,
year. Good year.
so 96, I was probably in my 20th year.
Got
Got an
some
early start
So
on.
got some
pretty
stats.
close. Yeah, so I was a graduate assistant, and then your uncle Matt or your cousin Matt was born in '84. So I left there and went to junior college, coached at junior college for 4 years in Georgia. And then from there, I went to Fort Myers and coached at Edison Community College for 3 years. And then I went from there to Miami-Dade and coached there for 6 years. And then moved up here and started the program at Lake Sumter.
Well, and
And that
throughout that
was
whole,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say I started here at in Leesburg at Lake Sumter in 1997.
And that was as an athletic director or as a coach first?
Yeah, so I took this job. So when I was coaching down at Miami-Dade, I was working for a legend, Charlie Green Senior. He had coached there and won World Series in the at the junior college level, um, and we had this. It's kind of like you guys are familiar with San Jacinto, right?
Yeah,
In
Yes.
San Jac.
Texas.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you remember when they had their three athletic programs, distinct programs? They have each school had, teams. Well, at Miami-Dade, we had three schools that each had full athletic programs. So when you played the Miami-Dade schools, it was a war. I mean, it was a battle. There was three schools. We had North Campus, we had the downtown campus, and we had the South Campus, and all of them were nationally renowned programs. They competed with San Jacinto, at the Junior College World Series, and in fact, Charlie Green was friends with what was it, legendary coach at
Wayne
San
Graham.
Jacinto? Is that?
Wayne Graham.
Yeah, Wayne Graham. They were buddies. They were buddies because they would see each other at conventions, at the World Series, and so forth. Well, they decided in 1997 to consolidate all of the programs and just have one distinct athletic program. So you're talking 25 coaches looking for jobs. So I had your aunt and uncle lived up here. Well, yeah, I think it was your great aunt and uncle up here in Howie in the Hills. And they told me about Lake Sumter. They didn't have an athletic program at the time there. They disbanded their program in the 80s. So I came up here and I said, what the heck? I don't have a job down there except for teaching. So I came up here and started the athletic program at Lake Sumter and coached baseball and was the athletic director for the first 9 years. And then I finally talked the president into keeping me as a full-time AD. I just thought it'd be a better thing for our program for us to move into the future. So that's what I did.
What other sports were you overseeing at Lake Sumter?
So when we started off, I went in there and the board of trustees said, we want three sports that can be successful in the classroom. I said, well, you could pick any sport to be successful in the classroom if you have the right people in place. I said, however, at the junior college level, it's baseball, softball, and volleyball. Those are the three sports. And they didn't want basketball because that's what they had before. And that's when they had to disband their program. So that's when we started those three sports. And I had to coach one of them, of course. So that was the other deal behind it.
That's a crazy resume. That is an absolutely crazy
Yeah,
resume.
yeah.
Now, what was your experience prior to Lake Sumter? I mean, were you in charge of recruiting at those other colleges that you were at?
So I'm recruited everywhere. I mean, when you're in junior college, you guys probably know some junior college coaches down there in Texas. Um, you're in charge of everything. I had assistant coaches, some of them part time, some of them semi part time, but nobody full time. So you're looking for, you're basically doing the recruiting, you're working on the field, you're doing everything that there is behind it. You're the mental coach, you're the strength coach, you're the trainer, you name it. In junior college, you do most of the stuff. Now, it's a little different. I mean, we've gotten better with our instruction at the junior college level, the money, the resources that they have. It's gotten a lot better. But that's how it was back then.
And
I
then
used to
when
do
was it?
laundry.
Yeah.
I used to do laundry. I washed the uniforms out in my driveway. I put all the pants down there. I took a hose with one of those high speed heads, and I
Oh, yeah.
washed the clay off of them, then stick them in the washer and dry 'em.
Budgets were tight. This is before NIL.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
coaching. That's JUCO to a T right there.
yeah. There was no such thing as NIL. I mean, they ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and had a Gatorade. That was their NIL.
And they took it. They took it.
Yeah, that's
Did you
right.
have any players at Lake Sumter that went on to play at big schools and beyond?
Yeah, at Lake Center, I had several guys that played pro ball. Chad Rupp went to AAA. He played at University of Miami, and then he signed with the Twins. Played there with him. The kid down at Edison, I had Jeff Sindrich. I wanted to tell that story. Jeff Sindrich was a local kid from Mariner High School in Cape Coral, Florida. And I had him out of high school. He was throwing like 78 miles an hour. The next year, he was throwing 90. And Miami-Dade, Alex Fernandez, if you look it up historically, he played at the University of Miami. He was signed with them. He played his freshman year, and then he decided that he was going to go to junior college so that he could sign pro. So he went to Miami-Dade. Well, I was at Edison. We played a night game in Fort Myers, and it was my pitcher, Jeff Sindrich, against their guy, Alex Fernandez. Alex Fernandez struck out 16, and my guy struck out 15 on a Friday night. Yeah,
That's
that was
insane.
it. That was it.
It was like a
But
one-run game.
Alex Fernandez, of course, went on to be a big leaguer. My guy got hurt in the minor leagues and never recovered from it. Jeff Sindrich, but he was a good kid. But yeah, we had some guys that went to, Miami, had a kid go to Florida State, two guys go to Florida State actually. Um, I had a kid go to Florida, played in the World Series back when Coach Pat McMahon was coaching. So I've had a few guys that played. Only guy I coached, two guys I coached at Miami-Dade that were big leaguers, Raul Ibanez
Yep.
and Jonathan Nunnally was the other one. Jonathan played a few years with the Indians, and then he went when they released him, he went into coaching with them.
Wow,
That's
that's
awesome.
that's that's pretty impressive. I got a couple questions. One, um, being as you were a coach and a player who had a relatively successful college career, I would say, and I guess most people would definitely say it. Like, what were some things that you did to keep coming back each year to be help you be consistent, like as far as playing? And then what were some of the things you saw, those guys that went on to play D1 or maybe get drafted that you saw from them that, helped them be more consistent or what separated them, I should say.
Yeah, work ethic. You know, I think that still holds true now, but the work ethic is, I think, the most important thing. Is if you want to be a good student, you got to study. If you want to be a good father, you got to work at being a good father. If you want to be a good ball player, you got to work at it. And you have to find out all the things that go along with it. So one thing I can remember about in college, before it was even thought of, it was the mental aspects of the game. Not just knowing first and third defense or knowing bunt defense or knowing, reading pitches, but the mental approach when you got in a slump. I read these, just old books about being successful, about the mental side of being successful. Not letting things get you down when there's going to be people out there that are going to detract you from what your goals are, and you have to fight through it. So back then, that was kind of what I did. It was tough. Being at the Citadel was not an easy thing. It was a constant mind game on a daily basis. So you had to fight through that. And then playing it, you had to really. I mean, can you imagine getting up at 6:30 in the morning and going through a early part of military drill, going to breakfast, going to your classes, coming back, and then get up, take your clothes off, and go to baseball practice every day. It was a little different. So you had to have kind of a mental approach. I think that's one of the things, even today, is very important, is the player's got to be mentally prepared to face this adversity, to face the stress, to face the problems that they're confronted with, people bothering them, their social media, all those kind of things. There's a lot of distractions. And I can tell, with my young guys, it's like, I don't get into all that stuff with the social media. They're always talking about what this other team's doing. I said, look, I try to stay in my lane. I use it was an old saying. I say, stay in your dugout. Don't worry about what they're doing. Worry about what you're doing. And then you say, I worry about what I'm doing. So that was kind of what got me through it.
Yeah, I think that's wise. I don't think it's talked about the mental aspect, especially nowadays. People are more glorified on the physical aspect of hitting 400 feet, throwing 100 miles an hour, really just more so focused on the biomechanics and the sports science instead of the mental aspect where, it comes into looking at like film. Like I thought it was a huge advantage when I was up at Rhode Island. We had a assistant coach and he would get film or ask, he would somehow obtain videos and he posted on a Google Drive for us to look at, their starting three pitchers of whoever we were going into the series. And I was one of like maybe three guys that actually looked at it. And then
You
like
know, and
out there
it's
through PTs and I'm batting 400 because like I
yeah.
know what it look like. Like I mean, everything I can visualize it. I've seen their movement. I can pretty much predict how they're gonna treat me, especially since I went to a mid-major school. A lot of those SEC teams, those ACC teams, thought they could just like punk me and use their own. They could overpower me with their fastball. I'm a fastball guy hitter, and if I know where you like to aim on certain spots of the zone, and I know you like to try to beat me with a fastball. I mean, 99, 95, 90, doesn't matter how hard you throw it. If I know where it's coming and when it's coming, like I can be great on that. And like that's
And
just all the
you're right about that. And the other thing too, now you have all these experts talking about launch angle and spin rates and all that kind of stuff. I'm coaching young guys and they're worrying about their spin rate. I said, let me tell you something. If you go up there and you strike out swinging, what is your exit velocity?
Zero.
Zero. So let's work on making contact, trying to hit line drives, and then when you can master that, let's move on. The one thing you just mentioned a little while ago was visualization. Visualize. I tell my guys that they don't even know what I'm talking about. I make them lay down in the weight room and I said, close your eyes and try to see yourself. Visualize yourself hitting a fastball. Visualize yourself. Sometimes guys visualize and they're preparing for the game that night. Next thing you know, they hit a home run and you go, I saw that. I saw that last night laying in my bed. I saw
yeah.
myself hitting that guy, hitting that pitch.
I
And
mean,
that's
I
what it's
think
all about.
your imagination is one of your strongest tools you can use, especially in this sport, because everything I kind of view it as like everything's kind of like a picture frame, especially when it comes to pitching. You're hitting a ball in less than a second that's coming out of a guy's hand, and if you're seeing him throw from a certain arm slot, or you haven't visualized him hitting or throwing a certain way, and you see it for the first time, you think you're gonna be ready. I mean, you just took milliseconds to see where that ball came out of. And now you got to be ready to hit it, and you think you're going to hit an absolute home run from something you've seen for the very first time. Like, a lot of people don't even have the balls to even pull the trigger on something new that they've seen for the first time, let alone get a good hit out of it. You can't visualize it. There's no.
Yeah, I can't imagine, now these guys they're they're getting their foot down when that ball is right here, and they gotta pull the trigger. Right now, they gotta pull the trigger, and then the only thing they can do is hold up.
That's right.
That's how fast it's coming in.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I don't think it's talked about enough, the mental side. And especially when I was in high school, it wasn't talked about at all, really. But like, I think Mitch and I, because we went to the same high school together, Mitch and I had already some sort of internal sense of visualization and the mental aspect of baseball. Like, we had approaches before like I even knew what an approach was. Like, yeah, I had a plan going up there, and I'm looking for key things, but I knew that before someone even told me. I just didn't know what it was called, and that everyone in the baseball world was already doing that at the next level.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, it's just like a doctor. He has to visualize if he's going to do surgery tomorrow morning. He's visualizing exactly what he's doing now. He's an expert. He's been doing it over and over, but they have to see it in their mind to make sure that they don't make any mistakes. And it's in baseball and all sports, I think that that's not talked about as much anymore. They just talk about the mental game, the mental side of everything. Well, that's incorporated. I think visualization is big. It's an important part in athletics, and guys have made a lot of money talking about it and devising these plans to work with athletes that are having some problems psychologically and not being able to see pitches and not being able to throw to first base from second base. So they work on this stuff, and that's important.
Yeah, and like we even see stuff like that, like with some of the kids that I'm coaching, some of the issues that I have is, back to what you were saying, like they're wanting to learn about their exit velo, but like you said, if they strike out, their exit velo was zero. And another thing that I struggle with is these kids, they're practicing so hard just for those exit velos or to throw hard and get gunned in the game, but they don't work on the execution of actually executing the play. They don't work on the execution of, they don't care about the execution, I should say, of hitting, of getting on base, of playing it out hard or making the right play. They just care about the glam of being powerful in this almighty figure like Shohei Ohtani.
Well, old Nick Saban, man, he has the word. It's called the process, and the process in baseball is tough. If you skip steps, you're not going to go anywhere. My guys, I told them the other night, and I'm not going to badmouth travel ball, but I'm telling you, I asked my guys the other night in a game. I was coaching third base. We're in a third base dugout. I said, do you guys use signals in the summer? And they go, no. And I said, no wonder. If I give signs, they don't even know what I'm giving. They have no clue.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing. I told my assistant, I said, I never even thought of it. We had guys batting out of order the other night. And I go, guys, there's a lineup card here. They go, well, what is that for? I go, dude, it's 1 through 9. You got a bat in that spot. I says, if I put somebody else in your spot, I scratch your name out and I put another guy's name there, and that's where he has to bat. They don't have an idea. None.
Crazy.
I was shocked.
Crazy.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. So we got to go back to basics on some of this stuff. Bunt defense.
Don't even,
We
don't even get started on bunt defenses.
the other night we had our first. It was a preseason game. I go, we're going to take pregame infield, outfield. They all ran out to left field. I go, what are you guys doing?
This is your varsity team running out.
Varsity team, first game. They all ran out to left field. I go, what are y'all doing?
No
We're going to take pregame infield, outfield. They hit one ground ball to the guy here, and then hit a fly ball to the outfield. The outfielder throws it in. I go, no. We're going on the field. We're going to go to our positions, and we're going to take infield, outfield like we do at practice.
We need a team meeting immediately. Like,
I mean, you guys are laughing, but I'm telling you, that's what happens in these high school games. They
I
don't
would
even
have a
take
stroke on
infield.
the field, coach. I
That,
swear, I'd have a stroke on the field if I ever saw that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
High school
well, you
baseball.
watch, if you watch those travel ball, they don't take infield. They go out in the outfield, hit some ground balls and hit some fly balls. If they're playing on turf, the same thing. You just go out there. It's like we go to the playoffs last year and they go, I said, you guys want to take infield and outfield? They go, yeah, let's go out there. I go, no, no, no. I mean, like on the field. Oh, no, we don't need to. Let's go out there.
That's crazy. Like the last thing I would want is like to not get reps in my position.
I tell them though, like when we go, it's hard now because you got the way our county works. Because of transportation, it's tight. So when the JVs, they usually wherever you go, you have JVs before the varsity, and it's just, so the timing's tough. So sometimes you can't take a full infield on the field. You have to go in the outfield, just like they do in travel ball. And it's tough. So that's something that I never even thought about last year. I'm walking to home plate and everybody's going running to left field.
No, you even got some varsity teams that don't even take BP on the field anymore. They just like they get the cages for like 30 minutes. They get to throw on the field and they do a little fly.
I'm gonna comment on that. Sometimes I've been using the machine because they can't hit the velocity. So we've
Yeah.
been using BP. We've been hitting off machines to get the velocity in BP on the field. I put the machine. We had a session last night. They hit in the cages with the coaches throwing before, and then we go out under the lights last night, and we're hitting velo. 82 miles an hour is velo in high school. But anyway, they're hitting off. They're hitting off that, and the reason is because they got to make an adjustment.
No, I'm glad that you still have coaches throwing live batting practice because I think that's an art that I see a lot of teams do away with. Like they only focus on the machine, where these kids don't have the timing of seeing a live arm. So do you think that every single piece has its time or place?
Well, we've been doing more simulated games. In other words, I started that last year a little bit more. I saw it in the minor leagues where they're taking BP, but they're hitting off pitchers that are throwing a pen or on rehab or something like that. Well, I started doing it. We just play like a simulated game in the middle of batting practice or to start batting practice and let them see some live arms.
I think that's the best practice you can get.
Yeah, the problem is the velocity, and that's why the machines help. There's a lot of big leaguers. Well, they're hitting 90, 100 mile an hour fastball, so you can't simulate 100 mile an hour fastball. It's impossible to simulate that in batting practice, other than sticking that three-wheeled, hack attack out there and say, "Here, try to hit this."
From like 40 feet away.
Well, yeah. Well, now these hack attacks, they got all kind of, computers, and you can put so many curveballs in there, throw a change up every once in a while. It's like a live game.
Yes. And when you're recruiting, how much emphasis do you put on projectability versus guys who are gritty, who have the intangibles, who have like the work ethic that's often overseen?
Oh yeah, well, yeah,
It,
like what's your baseline?
it depends on what level you're at. Okay, so when I was at junior college level, my job was to get them in there and then allow them to make the transition to a 4-year school or play pro ball. There's different guys. There's some guys that are not going to be, they're not going to go to college. They're going to play baseball. So those guys were one side of the room, very few. And then you got these guys that are college guys that could get better. They could get better with junior college, and then we want them to go to the 4-year school. So when I recruited, that's how I recruited. I said, this guy's going to be a pro player, and I'm going to recruit that way. That's the method I'm going to use. I'm going to say, are going to be a pro player, so you need to, concentrate on your baseball and work on getting better to play at that level. Or they were draft and follow guys that a scout calls me about, and I know I'm going to put him in there for his 60 games in the spring, and he's going to get drafted at the end. The other guy, he's going to try to get into a college. So it's just a matter of, back then in junior college, it's a little different. The 4-year schools now, I recommend everybody, all these guys, if they have a chance to go to University of Florida or the University of Texas or one of those big schools, go there first before you go to the minor leagues
Yeah.
because they got better facilities, they got better equipment, they have nutritionists, they have strength and conditioning coach, they got mental coach, they got all the stuff that you need that's going to prepare you to play in the big leagues.
I think guys are more MLB ready out of major D1s now more
No
than ever.
question. No question about it. I
Yeah.
mean, why? I mean, if you had a chance to go, you got to remember now in the minor leagues, the trainer in the minor leagues is the same thing as a player in the minor leagues. He's trying to earn a job. They don't have a nutritionist. They don't even have a place to lift. A lot of those, they have to go to some, CF Fitness or whatever.
Planet
They
Fitness,
don't. You got it. They don't have those facilities. And when you go to the universities they got everything you need to become a better player.
go make $250,000 a year at University of Florida and have the best of the best at everything. Develop your skills for 3 years, and then spend 1 year in the minors, and then make a big league club.
But to see here's the problem we're facing now, and you guys know this. The problem we're facing now is these high school kids have no opportunities if they're not a D1 prospect. They got nowhere to go because of this transfer crap. So now the junior colleges are benefiting from it. I mean, they're getting players they have never had before.
It's like
Yeah.
it's almost like it's steamrolling towards how hockey does it. Like as soon as you graduate high school, you go to these development schools, and then next thing you know, you enter college as a 20-year-old freshman because you had 2 years of hockey development at these. They're like JUCOs, but they're not. They don't waste your eligibility, and then next thing you know, you see like Boston College coming out, and their freshman lineups like all a bunch of 20-year-olds, and their oldest guy's 24. And then they're trying to make a debut to the NHL. Like it's what it's like going to, unless the
Big,
NCAA makes some sort of ruling, and they need to. They need to have some rules out there. Like it's the Wild West. And then
Well, what gets me though, and the guys that are going to they're going to get hurt by this, is these high school kids that are blue chippers at all in all the sports. If you're a blue chipper and you go to say Florida or Texas or wherever, and you don't play, you redshirted your freshman year. And then your next year you go back, and then all of a sudden they bring this transfer in that takes your job.
yeah.
What are you going to do?
2 years of not playing.
Yeah. So what happens to his development?
You see
That's
that at
why
JUCO nowadays too.
I'm a big advocate of junior college for development. I mean, because like unless you're just built like Jack Caglione out of high school and you go to University of Florida and you start right away,
You're
I
not
think you
going to
should go
get
JUCO.
now, and then with this NIL and the transfer portals, that's what's going to happen a lot. I just know the place I worked at, I went and watched their game today. They have players that we have never seen there before like that. I mean, they're studs. There's some guys that are, blue chippers that are going to be draft and follow guys, but at a different magnitude than it was, back when I was coaching. You had one or two guys like that. Now they got the whole field out there. There was probably 10 guys I saw that were, legitimate Division I players.
And this is at Lake Sumter.
Yeah. So it's different.
There's two divisions in junior college in Florida, correct? Or is
Yes,
there?
we have Division I and Division II. And it's NCAA, NJCA level. They have Division I and II. There's really not any difference in the players. It's just a difference in whether you get housing and meals and not. That's all it is. That's the only difference. Um, and now some of the junior colleges have NIL deals with their players, so who knows what's going to happen.
And I'm gonna kind of steer this conversation somewhere else now. Being that you're a father and a coach, like how was it, raising your own children to play sports, and were there things that you learned, as a parent versus and like coaching your kids versus like, being a regular coach to other grown men?
Yeah, it's you learn. I think everybody has that problem. I know more now than I did back then. If I knew all the stuff I knew now, I'd be a better coach. I'd be a better parent. All that stuff. It's all a process that you go through, and you just got to do the best you can. I always tried to. My philosophy was when my boys got to a certain level, I said, it's time for you to go off by yourself and not have me, not have me coaching you in little league or whatever. So I always said when they reach the big field, they're on their own. I said, I'll go watch them and, help out and stuff, but I'm not going to coach them because, I just wanted I wanted to watch them. The biggest thing is to, provide them with the best opportunity to be successful. And then also teach them about work habits and the things that are necessary. If they're not doing good in school, it's just like I do with my guys now. If you're not doing good in school, I'm going to suspend you from baseball. And that's tough. That hits them below the belt. If I take that away from you, it's going to be tough business. So that's kind of, the things. And I had one son that went to graduate in 4 years and then signed pro. And then I had another one that was drafted out of high school. And he'll tell you today that if he had to do it all over again, he'd go to college.
Because he had a
And
really nice offer from the University of Florida too, correct?
that's right. So he had an opportunity, but he just didn't like school or appreciate school as he does today.
So
So
if you're a parent, who's helping, whose kid wants to go play college baseball, what would be your advice for those parents? And then, for the kid, as your advice as a head coach, what would be your advice for that kid to go to get recruited to play college?
well, first of all, he has to be a good student in school. Okay, so if he wants to go to a good school, I don't care what anybody says, they're still recruiting good students because they're not going to get him in. You can't get into school. They only have so many waivers, and most of those waivers are for football players.
Right.
So you got to be a good student. The other thing is you got to be a good athlete, not just a baseball player, a good athlete. And you guys are in that business. I suggest to him all the time, I says, you got to go get with somebody that can help you with speed, that can help you with agility, all those things that are necessary. And then, nutrition. You can't go eating at McDonald's all the time. You got to take care of your body because it's going to pay off in the long run. So that I always tell them, I said, you got to be a good student. You got to be socially, you got to be in check. If you're on social media, everybody can see that stuff. Every college coach has access to that stuff. And then on the baseball side, you got to work hard, keep your mouth shut, and do your job, and just do the best you can and work at it. And people see that. So those are my three that I look at. And I think
Those are wise
there's
words.
I mean, it's not a formula. I just think it's something, and it's not just in baseball; it's in life. You gotta be a hard worker and keep your mouth shut and do what you got to do.
And that's kind of our like, Jordan and I, we have the same philosophy as that. It's like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it's like, student wise, you got to be good in the classroom because it's like you don't want to be a liability to your coaches at the college level off the field.
Just one more reason
Um,
to get rid of you.
That's right. You're
it's
exactly
good.
right.
It's like doing another guy for a position, he's going to always side with the guy who has better grades, who doesn't have to worry about in the classroom.
Yeah, I use that example all the time. I said there's two guys that have equal ability, baseball ability. They have equal ability. I'm going to recruit one of the two. What's going to put you over the top? Are you a guy that goes out and does community service on Saturday mornings? Or are you the guy that gets up on Saturday morning and sits down and pulls out your phone and start playing games? I mean, let's go ahead and put it out on the table. I'm going to go after this guy. I'm going after this guy that's working at it. He's going to the gym. He's doing some service. He's working with other kids. He goes to a little league and helps a coach doing clinics or something like that. Hey, you want this guy on your team. I don't want the guy that's sitting around doing nothing.
And question for you: have you been keeping up with like this latest Hall of Fame class inducted into the major leagues or with the big league Hall of Fame?
I try to stay away from that, but
You try to stay away
I
from it.
I read the papers.
What's your take on Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens? Should they be Hall of Famers?
Well, it goes back to the Pete Rose thing. There's rules. The rules have changed. But back when they were playing, they had rules. So they broke the rules. So they broke the rules and they're being punished. Now, did they, like if somebody breaks the law and they go to prison, they come out of prison, they've served their time and now they go back and try to get their citizenship back, from being a citizen that can drive and do all those things. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Do I think they should be in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely. But did all that stuff back then contribute to them being the great players that they were? That's not, I can't answer that. I don't think I'm qualified to answer that.
Right.
But
Well,
Pete Rose, I will say this, and I know because I've been in clubhouses before. That rule is on every clubhouse door about gambling. It's on every door.
yeah.
It's not like, well, I didn't know that was a rule. It's on every single door. I can remember going to my sons, watching them, and going through that door. It's right on the clubhouse door.
Well, talking about cheating and scandals, Uncle Mark, he brought up a story about you filling up a bat with tennis balls.
It doesn't
What's that?
work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'm telling you, they tested it. It does not work. It
It
was a
doesn't work.
complete fallacy. It doesn't
So,
work.
so you didn't hit a home run with the tennis balls.
Yeah, but I hit a home run without him.
What a science experiment.
The balls went flying out. Whether I didn't need the balls in there, I still hit it.
No harm, no foul.
So we're not contributing the home run to the tennis balls. It was all you.
I'm telling you, there's studies that have been out on that. Those tennis balls didn't do anything.
It was essential.
Well, Uncle Mike, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. And I know we could talk baseball for hours.
It's my night. It's my night, not my day. You guys are night owls.
Thank you for taking your night out with us, and we'll definitely have you back on. And good
All
luck
right.
this season to your ball club as well.
Thanks. All right. Take care. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
5, 4, 3,